Everyone. Welcome to the lecture. And today we are going to delve into some amazing yet important theories of corporate governance that influences how a company is going to get structured, managed, yet and ultimately thrive. So, what you are going to get from this lecture? So the lecture is divided into five parts. First part talks about the introduction of corporate governance. Other three parts talks about the theories which we are going to discuss. And last part in which we'll wrap up with the conclusion of this whole lecture. So what is corporate governance? Corporate governance refers to the rules, processes and practices that guides how a company is managed and controlled. But let me add something into it. It not just about the rules but also how you manage the responsibilities, relations and power in an organization. A good corporate framework stands upon the three pillars that are accountability, transparency of the organization and fairness of the organization amongst its stakeholders. If any framework lacks in any one of them also, that doesn't mean that it is a good framework. So I guess it is enough for the introduction, and let's deep dive into the main agenda of the lecture. That is the theory part. So first theory we have is agency theory. Agency theory is a cornerstone of the corporate governance. The theory focuses on the relationship between the owner and the management. So the theory gives us two perspectives. First is principal and second one is agents. Sorry, agents. So the theory says that principals hire agents and agents work for the benefit of the principals. Here agents means board of directors or managers, and principal means stakeholders or owners. This theory says this theory operates that the idea that the agent, managers or board of director will not always work for the betterment of the organization, and at some point of time they'll prioritize their personal goals over organizational goals. This would lead to the conflict of interest, which we also say in term of this theory, which we also say agency problem. And to solve and resolve, if this conflict isn't resolved, this will lead to the misuse of resources, distrust and chaos in the organization. So what are the solutions to solve this issue? There are some common yet effective solutions for this. These are incentive alignment, stakeholder activism, monitoring, and oversight. Incentive alignment talks about the executive compensation packages. So we can, so it means we can, these this executive compensation packages means, and why we do this? So we can just align. The main word is align the and the shareholder, or we can say owner and agents' interest. So we can align the interest of a principal and stakeholder. For this, we can use performance-based bonuses or other options. The second shareholder activism says that we should encourage the shareholder participation and activism in the management. Monitoring and oversight establishes a strong board. It encourages or it says that we should have a strong board of directors or audit committees to monitor that the management section is and decisions are on the right path. And what we mean by the right path, that the agents are taking the right decision for the betterment of the organization and they are not prioritizing their personal goals over the organization ones. Okay, so second theory we have is stewardship theory. In contrast to agency theory, stewardship theory is based on the trust. It views managers as stewards who and the stewards are self-motivated to act in the best interest of the organization. According to this theory, managers do not need any micromanagement or incentives to work for the organizational goal because their primary focus is on long-term organizational success rather than personal goals. It means this theory says that automatically and by default, we can say by default, the management is prioritizing organizational goals rather than personal goals. That's what this theory says. This theory rests on the belief that leadership roles are driven by responsibilities, loyalty, and a commitment to the company's vision. It's like, or we can say, it's like planting a tree and nurturing it for the future generation rather than chopping it down for the immediate firewood. For example, we can say that legendary Tata Group, a name synonymous for trust and integrity, like in Tata Group, leaders and managers are seen as the custodians of the company's value and legacy, and not just focused on profits. Their stewardship led to the initiatives like Tata Nano, which isn't something they did for the short term, but it was for the long term and a betterment for the organization, or we can say society. However, if the stewardship is absent or misused, as seen in the also seen in the Kingfisher airline, where short-term thinking and financial mismanagement led to the bankruptcy and downfall. As every other theory, there are also some flaws in in this theory of stewardship, and these flaws are overemphasis on managerial discretion, like we are overemphasizing on the discretion of the managers. Lack of clear goals, we don't have the clear goals. We ignore the agency problem. What was the agency problem? That personal goals will be prioritized over the organizational goals. Difficulty to measure the performance. How we can measure the performance uh, of the stewards in this theory? There is no particular clear measurement tool or measurement process, but as this also have some solutions, and these solutions are, we should we should clarify the goals and objectives. Regular performance evaluation should be there. Independent audit committee to do so. Risk management and internal controls are most important. Okay, the last and the final theory, stakeholder theory. Moving beyond just owners and managers, what we were talking about in the last two theories, owners and managers. Stakeholder theory emphasizes that companies have a responsibility to consider the interest of all stakeholders, not just shareholders. So it says that it is a responsibility of company to consider the interest of all the stakeholders and not just the shareholders. Stakeholder, and it also tells stakeholder includes employees, customers, suppliers, and the community, even the environment. What it means, that stakeholder could be any direct or indirectly affected thing. The theory is about balance. It suggested that the company thrive when they build meaningful relationship with everyone involved in their ecosystem. It and this theory, this is the main and the important part. The stakeholder theory encourages the inclusive growth. So, or we can, for example, let's look at Infosys, one of the India's leading IT giants. Infosys doesn't focus on profit. It prioritizes the well-being of employees, fosters strong customer relationship, and engages community building initiative, or we can say CSR activities. But here also a catch. Adopting stakeholder theory often result in sustainable growth. That's correct. But balancing the interests of diverse groups can be challengeful. Like if you are balancing everything, this could of course lead that this is the truth that you can't balance everything at one time, but this could lead to the challenge for this. Like we have also seen in the case of Amul, where there was a conflict between farmers and cooperative, occasionally creates hurdle affecting decision making. Like if there is a conflict between farmers and the management of Amul, there would be a conflict there would be a hurdle in the decision making, of course. So what are the possible flaws in this theory? This theory also lacks in the clear prioritization. Like we don't have any clarity for the prioritization in the theory, like which particular thing we have to prioritize. Difficulty in identifying the stakeholder. As a stakeholder means any direct or indirect entity, it it is very difficult to identify the stakeholders in the ecosystem. Overlooks organizational performance. Like it just says that we have to balance the betterment of the stakeholders, like anyone, but it doesn't talks about the organizational performance. And of course, as we know, if if even we are satisfying the stakeholder and balancing everything, but how we could measure this, how we could measure the stakeholder satisfaction, this isn't told about with in this theory. But as the last two ones, we also have possible solutions for this one also, like stakeholder mapping, like for to know whom are we can consider as stakeholders. Like this will answer the difficulty to identify the stakeholder one. Stakeholder feedback mechanism to know the satisfaction of stakeholders, enable clear prioritization framework for this one, for the first one, and balance the stakeholder interest with the organizational goal, which is most important thing for us. Like we can't just stay on the balancing of everything on just name of stakeholder. We should balance the organizational goals also with the stakeholders. So, for the conclusion, we can say that we have 3 points that agency theory highlights the alignment of interest to avoid the conflicts. As we said that there should be the alignment in the interest of both principal and agents. Stewardship theory inspires to trust in the leadership for the long-term success, and stakeholder theories remind us for the broader responsibilities for the business to have for the society. So, what is the key takeaway from this lecture? The key takeaway is effective governance is about finding the right balance between these approaches to ensure sustainable success. It means that we have to manage the balance between all the three theories we have studied so far, and the balance should be there in all the three theories for the sustainable success. So this was my part, and thank you for staying till the end of this lecture. This is me, Himanshu Shishodia, signing off.